Hey, vinyl community, it's David. Ostensibly, this will be part three to my thrift store finds in the last couple of weeks. There's a lot to get through, and I'm going to try to bang through them without too much of prefacing of what I'm showing you. If there's comment, I'll add comment. If not, there's some standard stuff. There's some pretty cool stuff, but there's a lot of stuff. So I just want to get through this now, and essentially, I'm not sure how many more thrift store find videos I'll have. There'll be other videos. There's stuff coming in the mail. And the finds never really stop coming, but it's record fair season in my fair province. So that's going to be all-consuming for the next month, is getting ready for the Edmonton Record Fair and the Calgary Record Fair, which I participate in. What you can see over there is tons and tons and tons of boxes that need to be sorted in preparation for the fair. So that's going to keep me busy. So finds, there might be some, there might not. Let's get right to this anyways. What you're listening to, if you can hear it, I'm trying to turn it down a bit because I'm getting caught on copyright infringements. You might hear this. It's Cactus. Original Adco Records pressing I randomly pulled. In my last video, I got an email saying that they detected OMD playing, and they were going to put ads in my videos, which I never want. So if there's ads in my last video, I'm sorry for that. I got busted on OMD of all bands. I like OMD. Anyways, we're gonna get right to this. Not one, two copies of Born in the USA I got. This one, let's see. This one is a definite upgrade. This one has a little bit of cover wear. I'm sure that I can pass this one along, no problem. But they all have the original fold-out insert, which is nice to find. So two copies of Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. Sorry if I'm short on, you know, my always entertaining stories, but there's a lot. Zap. I think this is the second copy I found in the last 6 months or so. In the shrink. Like me some Zap. This one's a bit interesting in the sense that it's, I think it was a Canadian-only compilation album, and I'm not sure if it was through mail order back in '84 or whether it was in stores. It's on CBS Direct, so when I see CBS Direct, it kind of, to me, kind of, I kind of associate that with online ads. Anyways, I'm not the biggest Chicago fan in the world, but it was $1. The Ultimate Collection from 1984. This covers the beginning of Chicago to 1984. Nice die-cut sleeve on these ones, kind of like the faux binding. Double record, in really nice condition. Anything that's just kind of bog standard stuff, I'm just going to show you and not preface a whole lot. Dire Straits Making Movies. Like my last two videos, I feel kind of guilty telling you all the prices, because you guys know what I'm paying for these thrift store finds. Yeah. Jeff Healey's first album in the shrink. Love me some Jeff Healey. I do have a Jeff Healey story I will tell one day about having a conversation with him. There you go. Jeff Healey's first album. This might be of interest to Canadians only, unless you happen to know the band Platinum Blonde. And what's cool about this album is there was no documentation on the internet about it until I added it to Discogs, which is kind of nerdy cool. You're the first one to kind of add an album to Discogs, and that is the lowest level or highest level nerddom you'll ever come across. But it's Kenny McLean. Kenny McLean, this is an album called Don't Look Back. Kenny McLean was in a band called Platinum Blonde, who were very big in Canada in the 80s and maybe early 90s. He released at least one solo album and had a kind of a minor hit in Canada on this album. The CD actually goes for a bit of money, but this album I don't know, because there were any vinyl sites I went to didn't have any records of this album being actually on vinyl. So that was kind of a cool find. Kenny McLean, Don't Look Back. Another Canadian band that might mean something to Canadians only. It's kind of, this was our version of the Stray Cats. The Bobcats. Not a very original name on that one. But the Bobcats were a Canadian 80s kind of rockabilly band. Very, very much like Stray Cats. They had at least 2 albums that I know of. Just some regular stuff, like a nice clean copy of Cars Panorama. I do have the mobile fidelity pressing of this one, which is fantastic. But I don't pass up any Cars if I happen to see them in the wild. Yellow Magic Orchestra. I think this is the second YMO album I've found in the last little while. I do like these guys. They were Japanese electronic. Some of their stuff's poppy, some of it's experimental, late 70s, early 80s. But YMO's fine by me. Really nice upgrade of Tears for Fears, They're Hurting. No story needed with that one. I'm starting to pick up Glen Campbell albums as I see them. And this is not since he's died. If you go through my videos, I've shown Glen Campbell albums, and I've kind of told stories about Glen Campbell and what he meant to my dad and all that growing up with Glen Campbell's music in the house. But Glen Campbell albums aren't, they're kind of an everyday thing you find in thrift stores. But I very rarely see this one. It's the 12-string guitar of Glen Campbell. I very rarely see this, or if I do, it's totally, like most Glen Campbell albums you find, they're totally beat to shit. But that's a nice clean copy on Capitol. I kind of feel like I'm rushing through this video. Sorry. For those of you who are just here for the vines, you'll like this video. For those of you who like to hear me ramble, you probably won't like this video. Underneath this this disguise of vinyl nerd guy, inside there's a guy, a man, who likes girls. So when I see kind of what's called cheesecake vinyl covers, I picked them up out of curiosity. This is one of them. Never heard of this album before. It's a band called Southern Exposure, called Heading South. They were, as far as I can tell, a Canadian kind of electronic funk disco band. And a lot of these were actually 75 cents. There was a store locally that had a vinyl sale. So for 75 cents, some of these unknown things. There you go. That one's for the guys. Like I said, that was, if I'm talking too fast, that's Southern Exposure. Very unremarkable album, by the way, when I played it. It's, man, the cover is probably the best thing about that album. I'm going to show you this album, and then I want you to see if you can spot something, because I had to do a double take and went back and kind of, I think I know this guy. Anyways, it's a band called Escalator. Look closely. All right. Escalator was, this might have been their one album. They were kind of like one and done. They were kind of a new wave band, very much like the Cars. And you see kind of bands like that all the time in thrift store bins. But I did a double take, went back, and I thought, this is from 1980, by the way, so I don't know if this is pre or post him joining the Talking Heads, but that's one Jerry Harrison from the Modern Lovers and Talking Heads. So I thought, you know what, I'll give this a try. Any kind of 80s new wave band with a female singer, I'm sold. Yeah, it's not very good. Yeah, so I can see why they were one and done. The Escalators, just a curiosity pickup. This one, I'm not sure if Andy at Andy's Vinyl Den watches my videos, but I picked this up with him in mind. Very rare where you find just kind of an odd find. An original UK pressing of Buck Owens. Roll out the red carpet for Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. As you can see, there's the UK. I'm not sure, is that an import sticker? No, that's part of the cover. But it's original UK pressing on that one that may find its way to someone, who knows. But 75 cents. This is the second copy of this one I've found in the past month and a half. It's the Blues Project live at Cafe A Go-Go on Verve Folkways. Verve Folkways and Verve Forecast are two of my favorite kind of older labels. I'm doing this a lot today. The bunny ears. And I hate people who do that, and here I am doing it. I trust me, if I annoy you, I annoy myself twice as bad. This one I might mix and match with the other one I found about a month ago and kind of piece together a nice perfect copy, but that was a Nice pickup. This one, I'm going to dedicate this one to all the country music lovers who are also old rock and roll fans. Liam Dyer, Billy Hurst, all those people like that. Super clean, nice copy of Carl Perkins' Country Boy's Dream in the shrink on Dolly Records. Yeah. Don't think I've ever seen this album, and definitely I wouldn't think I've seen this in a thrift store. But there you go. Carl Perkins. We're going to do a 3-for-1. But it's a good 3. This is a Sun Records pressing of a nice textured sleeve too of Now Here's Johnny Cash. And this one is, on first look, it's unspectacular, but it's an original Columbia 2i pressing of Johnny Cash's greatest hits. I do have a later pressing, but I found 2 Johnny Cash original pressings, that being one of them. And here's the killer one. Johnny Cash at Folsom Prism. Yeah, it's the band Prism. Original Columbia 2i. This might be my screenshot because it's such a cool find. There you go. Like I said, an original 1967, 68, 67 pressing at Folsom Prism. I'm just going to rename that album Prism because I can't say prison right now. You might look at this album and think dumb, but it's kind of very psych influenced. It's the original Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat Broadway show, whatever you want to call it. I just kind of know it from the 80s or 90s when Donny Osmond was in it. Not that I ever saw it, I just kind of remember that. But this is a very psyche kind of press in 1967. There's the back of it there. It's a bit of a trippy listen. I will tell you that. Original London Records pressing on that one. This one, I want you to think of the album cover of REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity, and this is the trailer park low rent version of that album cover by a band called Crackers. Hard on You. I believe they're a Canadian band. So ready? Think of High Infidelity, and there's its trashy cousin. There you go. And this features such hits as the Tit Man. You can read that. And I guess this goes for a few bucks, which is kind of why I picked it up. Don't know much else about it, but it looks kind of trashy to me. I don't know. I plan on, it's on Lunatic Records, by the way. I plan on giving this a listen later today. What's interesting about this, it's produced by a Dan Lanois, and I haven't done the homework, but I'm wondering if that's Daniel Lanois, the famous Canadian musician, producer who's done work with U2 and has had great solo albums on his own. But I'm wondering if this is 1980, so I'm wondering if that's that time frame where he started producing albums. Don't know. I'll have to do some research. But Dan Lanois produced this album. The Crackers, Hard on You. Picked up some soul and funk albums. Bobby Womack, Looking for Love Again. Original United Artists pressing. And Bill Withers, Adjustments. This is not to be, I don't like giving label information, all that, but it's on Ampex Records, which is kind of odd unto itself. Anyways, Bill Withers. This one goes for a lot of money. Not that that's important, I just kind of prefaced this by saying that because it was kind of a cool find. And the cool thing about this, that any vinyl site this is on, no one has an idea what year it was released because there's no year information on this. But it's on a label called Mushroom Records, which the early Heart albums were on, which were a Vancouver, BC-based label. So I might have to do some research and kind of match up the catalog number to the year and do some research on this one. But it's a funky, funky album. And don't judge it by the cover. Jason Hoover. Nice gatefold on that one. Like I said, don't judge it by the cover. Jason's a funky MF. So I might have to do some research on that one. What it goes for and what people ask for are two different things, obviously. So people ask a lot of money for it. But that was a cool find, and just the mystery of what year was it pressed in, we don't know. I'm guessing mid-70s. Second time I found this album in the last week, which is kind of odd. This one's in the shrink though. Tim Buckley Sophronia on Discreet Records. 2 copies of Tim Buckley. I don't. For those who might not know this soundtrack, this came out in 1978, and I think it was reissued not too long ago on vinyl. Whoever pieced this album together is either a genius or just lucky, because it's kind of like the who's who of 70s rock. It's the FM soundtrack, which I've never owned before. But if you don't know the FM soundtrack, it's kind of like, it's like you just turn to your local classic rock station. Boston, Doobie Brothers, Eagles, Foreigner, Steve Miller, Tom Petty, Queen, Bob Seger, Steely Dan, Joe Walsh, and it's all their biggest hits, which is kind of a fluke. So whoever pieced that album together, good on ya, because that's a damn good double album. Sheriff, promo copy of Sheriff. Sheriff are a Canadian kind of AOR hard rock band. Here's a killer one, an original pressing of Isaac Hayes' Black Moses. It's in the double album. It's in that fold open sleeve that folds open to a cross. I'm not going to unfold it for you in the interest sake of time, but it's that fold open cover that folds open to a cross where he's, you know, he's being Isaac Hayes. A promo copy of this one too. Well, it's a punch copy, but yeah, let's just call it a regular standard version. Anyways, I've never had this on vinyl. The fold open double vinyl of Black Moses by Isaac Hayes. Some more funky stuff. This one I picked up just because. If I don't like it, I got friends who are Southern rock fans who will definitely take this off my hands. But it's the Volunteer Jam 3 and 4. The Volunteer Jam was a series of yearly concerts in the States. This one's hosted by Charlie Daniels, but it's not really country. It's Southern rock. It's your who's who. Grinder Switch, Sea Level, Marshall Tucker, Wet Willie, Bonnie Bramlett, Papa John Creech, Willie Nelson, among others. Double record. It's actually a very good listen, I have to say that. This one, I just remember her from the Flintstones as Anne Margrock. I've never actually seen an Anne Margaret album in a thrift store before. I'm not a fan. I don't know. It's kind of like just light jazzy stuff in the shrink. But I'm not passing that up. Anne Margaret. Oh. Yeah. So that was a nice clean copy of Anne Margaret. It's called Bachelor's Paradise, by the way. Well, we get to the end of this. We're coming to the end of this. I'm not showing you everything, by the way. A lot of kind of the more standard stuff. I'm just kind of, yeah. Do you need to see a copy of Cyndi Lauper? Probably not. An original pressing of the Beau Brummel 66, which is primarily covers. I don't know much about Beau Brummels. I'm aware of them. But that is obviously by the title, it's 1966. What's cool about this, it's a blue Warner Brothers label, and I don't know if I have too many of those ones. Anyways, won't whip it out because I'll save you some time on that one. Jeff Beck, Rough and Ready. This one, not the most rare album in the world, but to find it for that price that I've been paying for these, and to find it in super nice condition, that is the rare thing, is finding a nice copy of Supertramp Paris double vinyl. Oh, we're getting down to it. We're getting down to it. An album actually I don't think I've ever owned on vinyl. I've had the CD, and when I was a kid I had the cassette, but nothing fancy here. Just Big Country in the original silver foil sleeve. I really like Big Country. They kind of got pegged as that one-hit wonder thing, but in the UK, they're a lot more revered than they are in North America, where we know the one song. But they had a whole string of really super good albums in the 80s that, I don't know, for whatever reason, just that one song stuck, and that still gets played on the radio. Patti Smith, Wave. Nice copy of Wave, which I don't think I have on vinyl. A nice upgrade copy of Joe Jackson, I'm the Man. I think this does have the original insert in it. Clean copy. If you know Joe Jackson, this is possibly my favorite Joe Jackson album, which is his first one. He had a lot of really good albums, but this one was the first one I'd heard when I was young, and it's his most kind of I don't know, his Elvis Costello-esque album. I hate saying that because people might roast me on that one, But I could kind of listen to Joe Jackson early albums and Elvis Costello, and to me they're kind of interchangeable. Both excellent, but they're to me they're in the same kind of league. Joe Jackson. Are we gonna end it on this one? We're gonna end it on this one. Just nothing fancy. It's an upgrade copy for me of Genesis Duke. If you take off Misunderstanding and take off Turn It On Again, I would be well happy, because those two songs are just ingrained in my head from AM radio when I was a kid. I don't need to hear those songs ever again. But if you take those two songs on Bung, the first song, Behind the Lines, with Duke's End, it's a good listen. A lot of people love this album. It's good. It's fine. There you go. There is actually a lot more, but like I said, and I think I've referenced this. What am I at here? 20 minutes for me. God damn, that's record time. For me, I do try to filter a lot of stuff out. Just curious, bog standard stuff. I don't want to have too much of that stuff in my videos, because like I said, you need to see Huey Lewis and Cyndi Lauper and blah blah blah. No. Anyways, we're gonna end this right here in record time for that many records for me. So ostensibly that's kind of it for the last 2 weeks. I can kind of move on to fresh finds, to things coming in the mail. It might sound boring as shit, but I might try to document what it's like to get ready for a record fair. Who knows? I'm boring myself saying that. Anyways, thank you to everyone who's watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Don't know what else to say. Thank you. It means a lot to me. And hello to everyone out there in the vinyl community who I've been watching your videos. I've been finding a lot of really cool, a lot of your videos, if I don't know it, I go sample it online. And I have a notepad on my phone, which I'm filming on, right there, of a list of albums to check out because of your videos. So, and of course, nothing comes to mind right now to name check anyways, but to all of you, you all know who the videos I watch. I try to comment when I can. So thank you for that. Thank you for showing things that I don't know. I appreciate that. That's the great thing about these videos. You discover music you didn't know. We're going to end this here. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week. David Michael, Vinyl Community.